Today's message is for those of you out there that may be sick and tired of the whole process of trying to become healthy and fit. You may feel like no matter what you try, you just simply can't keep the weight off. So what's the point of trying at all? I'm particularly talking to those of you out there that have made a conscious decision to give up on anything related to health and fitness. You feel like you've spent the majority of your life being on some sort of diet or chasing down some sort of exercise approach, only to be let down in the process. You are fed up and you've made the decision, unfortunately, to give up on your health and fitness entirely. You're no longer going to watch what you eat. You're no longer going to focus on and waste your time on exercise. And in fact, from here on out, you're going to do only what you want to do. You know, you feel like you've lived enough years, you've had enough experiences, and you've made enough sacrifices for the sake of vanity, and you just no longer see a point in any of it. Well, if you'll provide me with the benefit, I want to take a few moments to share with you some thoughts before you make this big decision of ultimately giving up on your health and fitness altogether. Let's dive in. Welcome to episode 42 of the LeRock Show, where I'm here to help you get your fitness back on track at any age and regardless of your current fitness level, so you can spend more quality time with your families, have a brighter outlook on life, and finally find the true joy that life has to offer. I'm your host, LeRock. I hope you're having an awesome day. You know, we're so lucky that we get to live in a free society where we get to make our own choices in life. And I'm lucky that I get to be here today to share my little tips and tricks with you, my little life's hard-earned lessons in order to hopefully help you become a better version of who you are. Whether it be losing weight, becoming more healthy and fit, or just having a better outlook on life. We're all very lucky to be in this thing together. For those of you listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, thanks for listening today. Thanks for putting me ears as you go about your day, going for a walk or doing some exercise or whatever it is you're doing. Thanks for listening. And if you're watching on YouTube, thanks for being here. I hope you're putting some of these little tips and tricks into action in your life, hopefully making a little bit of a difference. And as always, I look forward to your comments and feedback, as your thoughts and opinions really do matter to me. For those of you just joining us for the show for the first time, I'm a 52-year-old fitness enthusiast. I have an extreme passion for health and fitness. My story is that I fell in love with health and fitness at the very young age of 13. And by my late teens, I was in amazing physical condition. But unfortunately, by the time I was in my early 20s, after life kind of just started happening to me, I found myself in the state of obesity for the first time. And at the time, what I did is I used all my knowledge and ability when it came to health and fitness with diet and exercise, and I managed to get myself back in shape. I lost all the weight, got my muscles back, and I thought I had figured it all out. But unfortunately, over the next 9 years, I went up and down, up and down, up and down with my body weight, and I ended up 9 years later in the state of obesity for a second time. And the second time is when I figured it all out, when I found the long-term solution to losing all the weight and maintaining a healthy and fit body for the rest of my life. Well, what I do here each week is I share those little tips and tricks that I learned as I dug myself out of a state of obesity in hopes that I can help you, saving you all the time and anguish in your journey to lose all the weight and become a more fit and healthier version of you. Now this week, I'm going to be sharing with you some of my thoughts and my hard-earned wisdom on this whole idea in order to hopefully help you prevent giving up on yourself or giving up on this health and fitness thing. I'm talking specifically to those of you out there who are focused and making a conscious effort right now to throw your hands up in the air and give up on following any kind of a diet, quitting on any kind of an exercise program, and just deciding that you're just going to let things play out and that things couldn't possibly get any worse and that you're just tired and sick of this whole health and fitness thing and the fact that you can't seem to get anywhere with it. I'm also talking to those of you out there that have already given up, that have just given up on the whole thing because you just can't figure it out and it's just too much work. You know, you've made that decision that you're no longer going to just waste any more time trying to find the diet that you can follow. You aren't going to waste any more suffering on following some diet that, you know, either makes you starve or doesn't have a very good result in the end, you're not going to waste any more time going to the gym and spending hours and hours on a treadmill or putting yourself through all this strenuous effort, because in the end, you just don't feel like there's any point to it anymore. You've given up. Now, we are going to get deep into it today, but before we go there, if you haven't given up on yourself entirely yet, and you're really seeking a good eating approach that you can try out that will help you shed all the weight, not only in the short term, but help you keep it off for a lifetime, then I encourage you to take full advantage and download my free Automate Your Plate checklist. Like I shared earlier, I found myself in the state of obesity not only once, but twice. And I had all kinds of struggles when it came to finding the right diet. Well, the second time I found myself in a state of obesity, I had no other choice but to create my own roadmap to get myself out. And this consisted of 9 directives. And one of the directives is directive number 3. I call it Automate Your Plate. It's an eating approach that I created, that I followed, that helped me lose 65 pounds in 13 weeks. And it's helped me to maintain a very healthy and fit body for more than 15 years now. The benefits of this eating approach is it allows you to choose many of the items that go on your plate. It gives you tons of control, while at the same time using a common sense approach to having a well-balanced diet. In fact, it allows you to eat more frequently than you ever have before, all while watching significant weight come off. Now, those that have tried the Automate Your Plate eating approach and followed it correctly have had amazing results. So yes, I put together a free checklist, the Automate Your Plate checklist, that you can begin using today as your very own quick start guide, so that you can begin using it and benefiting from it right away. The Automate Your Plate checklist takes everything that I teach on this subject in my book and in my online course, and it simplifies it all down into a single page cheat sheet. For those of you listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, you can pick up a copy by going to ethanlerock.com/automate. And if you're watching on YouTube, there's a link down below. You can click on it and you can get it there. Okay, I felt compelled today to put together this message for those of you that are seriously contemplating quitting on your health and fitness. You've gotten to a point in your life where you're just fed up. You're fed up with chasing the diet, chasing the exercise, and you're getting ready to throw your hands up in the air. And this message also applies to those of you out there that have already done it, that have already decided a while back that you're just no longer going to do it anymore. Now, this idea of giving up can come at various stages in your life, and there's many reasons for it. It especially applies to those of you out there that have tried and attempted different diets in the past, or tried different exercise programs or approaches, and just find yourself chasing your tail, and you always end up back where you started. And ultimately, you just don't see a point in it anymore. Now, some common times in your life when you may find yourself thinking this way is when you've had the birth of new children in your family. Either you've had children yourself, or your wife has had children, and you're going through that whole process, having newborns in the house. That's usually one of the first times that this kind of thought process goes through your mind. You start thinking about the importance of your time and where you want to spend it. Another time in your life where you might come across this kind of thought is maybe you've had a recent advancement in your career. You become a manager, or you become more responsible for things at your workplace. And you really have to weigh out what you're doing with your time. So you've made this conscious effort in your mind that right now you're going to spend more time doing things that will advance your career, and you really are going to use more of your time for that than taking care of your health and fitness. And you justify it in your mind saying that one day in the future, maybe I'll give it some more importance, but right now I'm going to focus on my career. Another common time when people might think of this type of thought process about quitting altogether on their health and fitness is when they're getting longer in years, when they're up in their 60s or 70s, and they see that they have less time, in front of them than they have behind them, and that time is precious and life is too short. So what I'm about to share with you today is, while quitting on your health and fitness, quitting on the chasing the diet and doing the exercise might be kind of liberating or seem freeing when you're thinking about it and when you're about to do it, that it might just be the worst decision that you can ever make. But before we go there, let's take a few minutes to talk about why. Why is it that we get to a point in our life where we start to think that we have no other choice but to quit? So like I talked about, one of the reasons is when we start a new family. Little ones come into our lives, and all of a sudden now we're responsible for this precious little life or lives for some of us. And we have to really assess what the important things are in our life. What are we doing with our time? And we convince ourselves and justify in our minds that maybe we should just give up on our health and fitness for a while. Give up on this whole diet thing. Just start living life naturally. Taking care of our children, going to our place of work, coming home, dealing with the kids, dealing with all their stuff. And as they grow up, we start carting them to places that they need to go and taking them to all their events and showing up for them. And then we go to our place of work and we're busting our tails there. And every other moment that we have after work has to do with our families, because the justification in our mind is it's the right thing to do, to be responsible and dedicate all of our time to these things. And then what we do with that little tiny spare time we have, we kind of just flop down on the couch and we lounge ourselves, watching Netflix series, one episode after another. And that's the only thing we do with our life. And that becomes our life. And in the end, we tell ourselves that we're doing the right thing for our family because family is so important. And health and fitness, that's a selfish thing. And by all means, right? Family is number one. So we should be looking out for our family, and, whatever we have with our health and fitness, we can worry about that later. I can remember having these exact thoughts when my daughter was born. I was a manager. So I had two things going on there. I was a manager of people, and I also had this beautiful little girl that I took home from the hospital, and I just wanted to give her all my time. And that's exactly what I did. I stopped working out. I stopped eating properly. A lot of fast food I want to make things easy, so a lot of times I'd be eating fast food to save time. I was eating a lot of junk. I wasn't taking care of myself, and I really didn't care, to be honest with you. But what happened is, over time, the pounds just came on. And I started packing on more and more weight. And the fact that I also was a manager and I had this high-stress job meant my cortisol levels were going through the roof. So what would I do? I would crave more carbohydrates, I'd eat more food, and it was a vicious circle. Many people find themselves trapped in the same exact situation, but we'll get back to that. Another situation is, yes, like your career. You could be at a point right now where things are going really well for you at work. And if you manage to get yourself to this next level, where you're a manager of people or you're a manager of a department or whatever it might be, and you've decided that you have no other choice but to dedicate all this time and effort to your newly found career, your new placement, your new level you've achieved. So you think that you're being logical and you're being strategic and you're thinking, right now I'm going to just sacrifice a little bit of my own vanity. I'm going to gain a few pounds, so what? And I'm going to do really well at my job. And you tell yourself that you don't really need to worry, that it'll all work itself out, and that the career right now is the most important thing to you. Okay, so that's just another example of a justification that we use in our lives for when we decide we're just going to turn our backs on our health and fitness. And another one, ultimately, and this is another one I'm really familiar with, is people that get up there in their years, in their 60s and 70s, and they decide that they've spent enough time in their life worrying about how they look, worrying about vanity, worrying about being on a diet, worrying about being perfect, worrying about going to a gym or exercising, because it's all just a waste of time because there's very little time left. Life is just too short. So they don't want to be bothered with it anymore. They just want to live life on their terms. They just want to live simply and have no longer worry about suffering or no longer worry about dieting or exercise. So what I'm trying to share with you today, what I'm going to share with you today, is that all of these higher callings that we have in life, our family, our career, or we get to that point where we feel like we've got all this wisdom from having a long life and that we no longer need to waste our time chasing health and fitness. Well, all of these things come down to one thing. That one thing is avoidance. We have somehow convinced ourselves that we have the perfect excuse to avoid what we see as a painful thing. Being on a diet, being in the gym, doing some sort of physical exertion or exercise. We've all labeled those things as painful. We come to the determination that it's much easier to just forget about it altogether, to just give up on it all, to just quit. In fact, if it isn't giving us immediate pleasure right now, we don't have any time for it because we have other things that are way more important in our minds. We want to enjoy our lives. We want to spend time in the moment, and we don't want to be worrying about our health and fitness. Well, that avoidance is caused by our psychology, the assumptions that we make in our minds when it comes to health and fitness. We assume that if we stop worrying about exercise, stop worrying about diet, that life will become very peaceful, less chaotic. We'll have more time to do the things we want to do. If we choose to ignore being on a diet, just eating whatever we want, if we just choose not to exercise and just lounge around or whatever we want to do, the life all of a sudden will become more joyous and more stress-free and more the way we want it to be. And then we deceive ourselves. We tell ourselves, maybe sometime in the future, I'll worry about this whole health and fitness thing. It's never too late. I can do that down the road because there's these important things I need to focus on right now. Health and fitness can wait. And we also make the very incorrect assumption that things can't possibly get worse. That if we stop doing all the things we're doing when it comes to our worrying about eating properly and worry about getting exercise, if we stop doing all that, then things will likely just stay the way they are. They won't possibly get worse, and we can worry about it later. Well, I'm here to tell you that that is a huge mistake. Making that kind of assumption in your life is just wrong. Take it from me, from experience. I found myself in a state of obesity because of it. I was 33% body fat. I couldn't go up a flight of stairs without huffing and puffing. I would become flush red all the time for no reason whatsoever. I suffered through anxiety, depression, and all the other things that happen when you're physically just in a terrible state. And it's not like something that just happens overnight. It's a slow progression over a short period of time. And the next thing you know, it's out of control. And you find yourself in such a poor state of health, you have no idea how you even got there. You see, it's not like you're just gonna stay in the state that you currently are at. If you give up on everything, if you give up on, staying focused and understanding what you're putting in your mouth every day, or if you give up on any kind of physical activity whatsoever, and you think you're just gonna sit at your desk all day and do your job, and then come home and just feed the kids and clean the house, and you're not gonna suffer from a health perspective. Well, you're just lying to yourself if you believe that's true. And the sad part is, ultimately, all those higher calling things that you used as your excuse, your family, your career, the fact that life is too short, well, all of those things end up suffering in the end. That family that was so important to you, that family you decided you're gonna stop focusing on your health and fitness for, well, that family's gonna grow up and time's gonna go by and they're gonna need you. They're gonna need you to be here and be in a good state of health. And the worst thing you can do is, if you give up on your health and fitness, how are you gonna be there for them when they get older, when they need you, when they're depending on you? If you can't even, go up a flight of stairs without having a heart attack, how are they gonna have an empathetic parent that can be there when they go through their trials and tribulations? And I guarantee you, every kid does. When they need you to have a different mindset where you can be more patient and kind and empathetic and understanding. Well, it's very hard to be that when you are in a poor state of health, when your blood pressure is, through the roof, when you can't even think straight, when you're in a fog because your health is so out of whack. And it often makes you make wrong decisions when it comes to how you deal with your children. It makes you impatient, it makes you way less understanding, and it actually makes you a very poor example to that family that you hold so dearly. And that career that was so important to you, that you wanted to put everything on hold for. Well, how good are you going to be at your career when you're in a poor state of health? When you can't even think straight? When you start reaching out for things like alcohol in order to keep yourself, calm and de-stress? Those things add up after a while. That glass of wine after work, or that beer after work, or those 2 beers lead into 3, lead into poor eating choices, and the whole thing just amplifies. You think I'd be talking from experience, right? Take it from someone who is a manager. I've been a manager since I was 24 years old. I've been through that whole thought process. That whole thought process of let's be dedicated to our job and let's put our health and fitness on the back burner. And guess what? All it did was burn me in the end, because accumulatively you put on the pounds and they just keep on coming, because when you consume all those calories and you're drinking all those little drinks after work and you're telling yourself that this is helping me to de-stress, and you keep doing that vicious circle every day, eventually all those extra things that you keep putting in your mouth and the fact that you're living a sedentary life and you're not doing any real movement, it adds up and you end up ballooning out. That's the truth. And that affects your blood pressure. When your blood pressure goes up and all your arteries are just jammed with blood and pressure, eventually your thinking gets messed up in the process as well. And it makes it so you can't really make good decisions as a manager. And many times it leaves you flailing in the end. And the last example, for those people that are in their 60s or 70s and they're looking at life and they're looking back and reflecting and they feel wise and they're throwing their hands up in the air and they're saying, you know what? I'm just going to do whatever I want in life. I'm done with playing with the diets. I've done all the diets. I'm done with exercise. I'm done with it. I'm not putting myself through that stuff anymore, because what's really the point? Life is way too short. And that's the justification that they have for why they want to give up. Well, I'm telling you right now, yeah, life is short, but it can be a heck of a lot shorter. And that's something you should really be thinking about. And that little bit of life that you have left, what quality of life are you going to have if you let it all, you throw your hands up in the air and you just don't care anymore about your health and fitness and you pack on all the pounds and you cause yourself all kinds of things like heart conditions, diabetes, stress, all these horrible things that come with poor eating and lack of exercise. So what happens is this life is too short thing. Well, the life that you have left becomes less quality of life. You may have trouble walking. All of a sudden you need people taking care of you. You can't get around like you used to. You can't move around freely. And life becomes very limiting and very miserable to live. So life is too short, but how would you rather spend it? Doing what you want in life, being in charge of your own self, being able to walk on your own and take care of yourself well up into your 80s and 90s, or have to rely on somebody else to cart you around in a wheelchair or to come pick you up and to cater to you because you become this big burden on them. So after I've shared this message with you today, you may be asking yourself, well, what can I do then? How could I stop feeling like I have to suffer in order to get my health and fitness back? And how could I do this but also have time for my family, have time for my career, and also be able to enjoy what little life I have left for those of you that are up there in age? Well, the answer is very simple. Whatever diet you choose, yes, it has to be healthy. It has to be well balanced, but it has to be something that you actually enjoy. You should be on a diet or an eating approach that allows you to eat as frequently as you need to eat in order to stay happy and satisfied in life. It should include good texture. It should be something that is delicious and tasty. It should be something that you actually get excited about and look forward to. And those diets do exist out there. You just have to look for them. And it's not rocket science. Whatever you decide to eat, it shouldn't be high in calories. It shouldn't be full of toxins and preservatives. It should be stuff that you find in the produce section at the supermarket or in the meat section at the supermarket, and avoid things that are in boxes and processed foods. And it really isn't that hard if you take the time to really think about it and put a little bit of planning in place. The other thing you need to do after you've got your nutrition in check is you need to figure out something that you can bring into your life, some sort of physical activity that you will actually enjoy and look forward to. The same thing. It does exist. You just need to look for it. What you need to do is stop focusing on the stuff that other people tell you should be doing. These crazy workout plans that don't agree with who you are. They're not congruent with who you are on the inside. There's something that somebody's telling you is the most effective way to lose weight, but there's no way in hell you're going to live the rest of your life doing it because it's brutal. That's what the truth of the matter is. We get it in our minds. We have these assumptions that working out is painful or that eating nutritiously is bland and dull and boring. We have those assumptions because those are the conclusions that we've made in our own mind. We've given up on the whole idea of being creative, seeking out and finding those things that we really want in our lives that are good for us because they're everywhere. It's abundant. It's just that we've forgotten how to seek them out and find them and bring them into our lives. When you were a little kid and you went to school, what was your favorite time when you were in school? Most people you ask that question to, it was recess. People want to go out and play with their friends and talk to their friends and goof around at lunch and run around and play tag, or their favorite class. Ask what their favorite class was. A lot of people would say gym class because they got to play baseball or they got to go do something out in the field, football or whatever it might be. And it was a physical activity. It was a physical activity that they enjoyed. Well, life can be like that for you. You just need to figure out what it is that makes you happy. When it comes to what you eat, when it comes to what you do physically, it's all really up to you. It's up to you to use your imagination and bring those things into your life. And you can have everything. You could have the family. You can have the career. You can enjoy the last days you have left as you get up there in age, but also take care of your health and fitness. Because I'm telling you from experience, being extremely heavy, it sucks. Being out of shape, being obese, it's mortifying. It's the worst feeling in the world when you know that you can no longer do things that other people can do. You can't go for long walks. You can't run without huffing and puffing. You feel like you're in a fog all the time. Your energy levels are in the toilet. That is no way for a person to live. And I encourage you, before you make this decision, to quit on yourself, to quit on your health and fitness. Or if you already have quit on it all, I encourage you to go back and revisit what it really means to be healthy, how to get healthy. Just put some thought into it. Just give it a little bit of thought, a little bit of planning. Seek out some sort of a diet or eating approach that you can enjoy. It doesn't have to be eating, like salad and chicken breast and, rice. And it doesn't have to be that. It can be whatever it is that you come up with. You just want to keep the calories low. You want to eat well-balanced nutrition, which means you want to have protein. You want to have low glycemic carbohydrates. You want to have healthy fats in your diet. It really isn't rocket science. It's just something you need a little bit of time to sit down and think about and plan out. And when it comes to your physical activity, you should always incorporate something that you enjoy. If you like jogging or if you like running or if you like walking, that's a good place to start. But as you get more advanced, you want to do something that builds your muscles because your muscles actually pull more calories and crank up your metabolism as they get bigger. So if you're doing any kind of physical activity, I encourage you to do something that builds muscle because the stronger you get, the easier all of this becomes. So in summary, you're not alone in this whole thought process, this thought about just quitting on your health and fitness altogether or putting things off to the future so that you can focus in on things that are more important right now. You're in good company. You've got millions and millions and millions of people out there that are going through the exact same thing as you right now. And they're coming to their decisions based on the same exact thing, their own, unique higher calling that they've come up with. This whole excuse that justifies why they want to give up on themselves when it comes to health and fitness. And it happens at all stages in your life. I've given 3 examples, but there's many, many more that are out there. The examples I gave today are, your family, your career, or the fact that you don't see that many more days left in your life. So you just want to live it the way you want to live it. Well, we must understand that the reason that we're thinking that way, it all comes down to avoidance. We want to avoid the things that we find painful or that we don't think we can win at. And we justify it in our minds that we should just quit because it's much easier than trying, right? It's much easier than feeling like it's an effort and futility. And we allow ourselves to make inaccurate assumptions that if we stop doing what we're doing, we stop caring about our health and fitness, that everything's just going to maintain and be the way it is now and it can't get much worse. And sometimes some of us lie to ourselves. We trick ourselves into believing that, one day in the future, we'll start looking back into this whole health and fitness thing. But right now, this is what the most important thing is that I'm going to focus on. And my health and fitness can wait. One day in the future, I'll get on it. And sadly, the truth is that the more time you spend being sedentary, not eating correctly, not taking care of yourself from a nutritional standpoint, the harder it is to get yourself out of it. Because that accumulation over time, it becomes like a giant mountain. And it's very hard to come back. Trust me, I've been there. And sadly and ironically, all these things that we thought of as our higher calling, our family, our career, or this perch that we get on with our wisdom and years, that, we've tried everything. So we've learned it all and we're ready to just give in and not do anything about our health and fitness anymore. Well, those things just end up suffering in the end. Our families grow up, we become out of shape. We're not level-headed. We make bad decisions when it comes to dealing with, our children as they go through different problems. We may cause conflicts that are unrepairable. And as they get older, we may not even be there for them because we're so out of shape that we're in such a terrible state of health that we just can't be there for them in those important moments in their life. Our careers might suffer. We may make bad decisions because when you're physically ill, and being out of shape and being obese is a physical illness. It affects you. If you believe it doesn't affect you, then you need to learn a lot about biology because everything's connected. The way you think, the decisions you make, it's all connected to your physicality. You need to be in good shape mentally, right? And part of that is being in good shape physically. It all is related. In fact, I'm telling you right now, it was 1996, the first time I became in the state of obesity. And within that year, I went from having an amazing job to being unemployed, being out of shape, being full of anxiety and depression, and all these things. And it was all caused by the fact that I just let it all go on the physical level. It affected me on the mental level as well. And it did affect my career. And it affected my family too. That's why I'm here today sharing this message with you. Because I want to stop you from making the mistake that I made in the past. You shouldn't give up on yourself. Don't give up on that idea that you could be healthy and fit. Because you can do this. You can do this. You can find something that's simple to do when it comes to nutrition or when it comes to some sort of exercise. And you can keep yourself at a level of fitness for a lifetime. And if you are one of those people that are getting towards the end of your life and you decided you don't have any more time for worrying about dieting or worrying about exercise, I get it. Sometimes life can be that way. It feels like it's a struggle and you can never find the answer. But I'm still telling you, don't give up. Because there are people that are depending on you. They're depending on you to stay healthy and fit enough that you can participate in life and that you don't become a burden on your entire family. Those people need you. And ultimately, the answer to getting out of all this is to determine a way that you can eat that's delicious, nutritious, well-balanced, that you can maintain for a lifetime, without suffering, without falling off a diet and going back on a diet and falling off a diet and going back on a diet. Well, the reason all that happens is because a diet you're picking might just be a miserable diet. Something that's very unflavorful or something that's just, it's a suffering that you have to go through in order to be on the diet or starvation or whatever it might be. It should never be that. It should be something that fulfills you, but keeps the calories down, has a common sense approach to it, is based on well-balanced nutrition. And you can do that for a lifetime and it won't be a suffering thing. It should be something that you actually look forward to. I've been doing that for more than 15 years ago, the way I eat. And when it comes to your exercise, it should be based on the basics. Do something that you enjoyed doing in life when you were a kid. What did you want to do at recess? What did you want to do when you had choices on the sports you wanted to play? Start there. Do you like going for walks in nature? Do you like going for little hikes? Start there. And I encourage you to look into something that builds up your muscles. And it doesn't have to be strenuous hours and hours and hours in the gym, killing yourself or going into some crazy boot camp. It could be something gentle. It could be yoga. It could be Tai Chi. It could be doing just some basic little exercise with some dumbbells at home. But I encourage you to do something on a physical level because giving up on yourself is the worst thing you can do. Giving up on your health and fitness It really is the worst thing you can do for your life. And the truth is, we don't need to suffer in order to be healthy and fit in life. We just need to use a little common sense, put a little bit of planning in place, and then follow through on those plans. And as I shared earlier, if you want to try out an eating approach that addresses those things I was just talking about, it's based on common sense, well-balanced nutrition, allows you to enjoy good, delicious food, allows you to have some cheat days. If you want something that tells you, guides you through what you should eat, how often you should eat, what those portion sizes should be, what the frequency should be, that encourages you to drink water, that has automation built right into it, then you might just be interested in my Automate Your Plate eating approach. And guess what? I'm not selling it to you today. I'm giving it away today for free. I encourage you to go ahead and download my free Automate Your Plate checklist. The Automate Your Plate checklist takes you through this whole eating approach that I created more than 15 years now. The same eating approach that I use to lose 65 pounds in 13 weeks. The same eating approach that I'm on right now that I've maintained a healthy and fit body for more than 15 years now. I encourage you to download it. It's free. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, you can go to ethanlerock.com/automate. And if you're watching on YouTube, there is a link down below this video. You can click on it and you can get it there. And before we go, as always, feel free to leave me some comments and some feedback. And I'm curious. I'm talking to those of you out there right now that are going through some struggles in your life and in your mind. And you're seriously thinking about quitting on this whole health and fitness thing because you just can't find balance. You can't find a way, to be there for your family or to be dedicated to your career. Or you're at your point in your life where you're up there in years and you don't see a point in it anymore. Because I'd be really interested in hearing about what your thoughts are on that. Did any of this message help shift your perspective just a little bit? Make you think a little bit differently about the importance of dedicating a little bit of time to your health and fitness? Because I hope it did. I really do care. And I really hope that you don't give up on yourself, that you don't give up on your health and fitness, and that you do find a way to use common sense to bring good nutrition into your life, to get yourself moving a little bit more each day, so that you can be healthy and fit, and that you can be there to thrive and be there for your family, so you can do better in your career. And so that little bit of life you say you have left is a high quality of life, where you get to be there with your family, enjoying this time, rather than being a hindrance or a burden to your family, where you're suffering and you're in and out of hospitals. Because that's no way to live your life. You are an amazing person who has people that love you, that care about you, that depend on you. And you deserve to be living the best version of this life that you can have. The joyous version that only living a healthy lifestyle can give you. I am thankful that we got to hang out again today. And I really hope that this message reached you at a time when you needed it. Thank you for staying the course and believing in yourself. Have a blessed remainder of the day and the week. And until we meet again, stay healthy, be happy, and live your life with intention every single day.